Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of Hear Me Out. Today we have a very honored guest. I've known her since I was in secondary school. It's my honor to have her here. Despite her busy schedule, we managed to just figure things out and get her on board. And yeah, I definitely appreciate her presence over here. But I think one of the main thing that I really wanted her to come on board, I think it's her experience in terms of her career field, which she would explain herself, and also in terms of her opinion, in terms of recent cases and the things that I think people out there should actually know about. Yeah, because I think if you don't have a certain group of people, sometimes you might not know about the certain knowledge. So I think it's very important that I want your opinions in terms of such a scenario. So yeah, today's gonna be a very casual talk, like I said always. And as you all can see over here, I don't think a much explanation should already be done. Should be done, but yeah. Okay, I'll just let her introduce herself. So the mic is all yours.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Erica, and I'm 26 this year. And then after that, I am a professional pilot. I fly planes for a living, especially the big jets. I think right now I fly the big jets. If you want to know the model of the plane that I'm flying the Airbus A320. And then after that, one more time, I'm really glad to be here. And thank you for having me on this show. It's my first time doing something like this, so I'm really excited actually.
Our pleasure. It's our pleasure instead. So let's go on straight to what I wanted to ask you. I have a lot of curious questions, I think, ever since I was young, which I think I managed to ask you along the way when we go for jogs and stuff like that, evening walks. But I think maybe we should just put it out there a little bit. So I think we will start on with what are these bar stripes? How do you categorize yourself, or how do we label it as in terms of a pilot? Yeah.
Okay, so after that, as you can see here, I have my one bars framed because for me it's a really memorable kind of thing to do for me, so that's why I have them framed. Currently, I have two bars, so I have them here. So I'm a two bar first officer. So we have ranks actually. So if you're one bar like this, that means you're a second officer, meaning you are just in training, or you just you just got hired, something like that. And then after that, once you clear your training, your line training, you are officially what they call a first officer, my bad, a first officer. So right now with these two bars, I'm a junior first officer, and then after that, as my career progresses and I fly more and I gain more experience, through exams and interviews, I will get up to four. So after that, if I have the third bar, that means I will be a senior first officer, and then after that, when I get a fourth bar, I will be a captain. And then after that, there are more things that can be added to the epaulets. They are called epaulets actually. So after that, if you have stars, usually in some companies that means you're a training instructor or a designated flight examiner, for example. If you have any more other stars, then that's in the military, and we don't really have that in civil aviation. So yeah, that's what our epaulets mean and how many bars we all have. I feel like people will get easily confused about that. So after that, here's a little bit of a rundown in terms of how many stripes we have. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much, and you said something about interview. So do you mean like you have to go for an interview before you can actually move on to the second stage, before you can move on to a captain? Is that
Yeah.
what you refer to as
Yeah,
your
yeah.
interview?
Yes, of course. Because we have to pass these interviews for us to like ensure that we know what's going on. So after that, we always to jump from every stage, but from one to two, I didn't have an interview, but from two to three, I would have an exam and an interview, and the same thing goes for from senior first officer to captain. So what I do is that these interviews are held by usually by other pilots, usually the training pilots, and then they will come and ask you, oh, technical knowledge, like do you know what a green dot speed means, for example, and or like do you know what this does? Yeah, I'm not gonna go into too much technical jargon right here, but like yeah, like they ask you about your decision making skills, because for example, as a captain, you need to manage the airplane. When you're a captain, it's not really about flying the airplane per se, because both of you can fly the aircraft. That's what there are two people in the cockpit, right? So that's what we are supposed to do. But as a captain, you set the tone and then you manage the entire aircraft for that particular flight. So after that, they want to know your decision making and your common sense, basically, what you do, and then after that, how well do you do it according to the company SOPs? Yeah.
How long is the transition period between a first officer to a senior officer? How is there, like, you need to fulfill at least like 3 years of flying, or it's more on that? how many hours of flying you have to fulfill for you to be entitled to senior officer and also captain?
It depends. This one is it varies by company, but usually once you clear 1,500 hours, your license changes from okay, so there are levels to our license. So currently I'm at a CPL or a commercial pilot's license, and then after that at 1,500 hours of flying total, you get to unlock your ATPL, which is your airline transport pilot's license. So usually once you get your ATPL, you will get three, but it depends on the company whether they want to promote you as well. Yeah. So but I would generally say if you hit 1,005, you get your T-bars.
So you will, once you get your 1,005, you have to apply for it, or generally an email will just come to you, hey, you have completed your 1,005 flight hours, you are entitled to this, do you want to proceed, kind of thing?
Usually I think you need to apply for, and after that inform the company you've hit 1,005, and you will have to sit for an exam and an interview.
I see.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay.
It's not, I don't think it's really an automatic promotion. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And is networking important in your pilot industry?
Networking is important everywhere.
Is it?
It is. It really is. Like you might think that you just fly a plane and all that, but you just fly a plane. But actually, networking is very important, and networking is important everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, because mainly it's you have to hit your hours. So just a slight introduction. How does connection works in terms of getting your promotion? Isn't it mainly just about you flying, or it's about how well you land and how well you?
Oh, I mean, if you want to say, if you want to move up in like ranks, that one you don't really need much of a connection. But I think, if you want to go for positions like a training pilot or a management pilot, then yes, networking matters. Or let's say if you want to apply to an airline overseas, then who you know is very important, because your hours, your experience gets you in the door, but also who you know, and after that, it will help you a lot. Like if you know the okay, like it's like cable, cable. Yeah, it works the same everywhere. Yeah, no matter here or anywhere else, it's the same. Yeah.
I wanted to ask this question. So, like for example, let's just say corporate work, right? Whatever that you do, it's seen by the upper management, like how's your email, like how you speak, and how whether or not you speak eloquently, or etc. But when in terms of flying, for example, if you are the co-pilot, does your pilot, which is the captain, actually leaves a comment about how is your pickup skill, or how is your departure skill, or how is your landing skill like? But I think mainly it's done by the captain, right?
No, I mean, like, we take turns. So basically, in airline operations, we usually do take turns when we fly. So there's something called the PF and the PM.
Okay.
So pilot flying is the one flying the aircraft, controlling the aircraft. Pilot monitoring is the one that does the paperwork, that answers the radio calls, and all those other non-flying related things. And the pilot monitoring also monitors the parameters of the flight to make sure that nothing is out of order. So yeah, so we take turns with that role. So after that, whoever is the pilot flying will land the aircraft. Yeah. So after that, if you say, does the captain leave a comment on your landing and your landing skills and everything? Of course, I think every flight is different. So after that, definitely they will leave comments.
And is that important for your reputation and for your networking?
Or
does it build your credibility?
It's not a like a written verbal, like a performance appraisal kind of thing. But after that, people talk. It's not a very big community, you see. So I would say that if you're a good pilot, in terms of like all around, not just how good your word spreads around, like do you do your work properly? How are you good to fly with? Because flying is not just about can you fly the aircraft. Flying is more like you manage me. And actually, I would say flying is more how you interact with the other person in the cockpit, more than just do you know how to operate the aircraft from A to B. Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah, so for all those people out there, flying the aircraft is not just flying the aircraft, especially when it comes to the big jets, because we have the autopilot. I'll touch on that later, but we have the autopilot, and that does a lot of the work for us to reduce the workload, but there's also a lot of other stuff that we have to do that doesn't involve the autopilot as well.
So to say there is no proper like a performance appraisal that will be passed on to the management to see how you do, but it's mainly about words that actually spread about as to how well you actually land and pick up lah.
I would say that it's not like we don't have a performance appraisal for our promotion, but we do have this exam, a revalidation exam that we have to do every 6 months. So yeah, every 6 months or up to every year. So what we do is that we have these exams every 6 months, and then after that we are assessed in a simulator that is written down how you did during that, and that will definitely be reflected to the management, and that is very important because if you fail that, you are grounded, you can't fly.
I see.
Yeah. Okay.
I see. Okay. Well, that's a very intense first beginning of the podcast. There was a lot of information, a lot of jargons that I have to absorb. But yeah, it's a very good knowledge. I would say that many people, yeah. So, putting aside, okay. So once that is done, I wanted to ask again about how do we know whether this pilot works for which company? Which company? Does your uniform itself tells you work for which company? Because I believe, yeah, I think you told me before that it's your tie or your, or your pin that actually shows, tag you to who you belong to, which company and etc.
Yeah, I mean, this one is a uniform variation.
I
It depends
see.
on the company, but after that, usually you can identify who works for what company by, well, their logo, obviously, and then after the wings, they usually have a logo on the wing, on the chest, the pilot wings on your chest, or the color of your epaulets and all that. So yeah, you can identify, but not very easily, I would say, because generally a lot of companies in the world, they use gold epaulets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like the company I work for, we don't.
I see.
Yeah, we don't.
So we can either determine it through our epaulets.
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 Yes.
Okay, from the epaulets and also from the pin itself.
Yes.
And also from the tie.
Yeah, sometimes they will have the name on the tie, or like said there's some like designs on the tie that make it look like, oh, if you know, then after that you're like, oh, okay, this pilot works for this company, or like this pilot works for that company. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, for example, nurses, policemen, so whenever they're off duty, they have to wear a jacket to cover up their attire, right? So does pilot have to do the same thing? Is it applicable to y'all?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Actually, when I'm off duty, I usually take off my epaulets to show that I'm not on duty anymore. When I'm going to work, I put them on. But after that, when I'm off duty, or like if I'm going to have something, a meal or something, I usually take them off, or like put a jacket on. Yeah.
I see. So I guess it still applies to, as long as anyone that is wearing a uniform, whenever you're off duty, you kind of have to cover it up.
Yeah.
To show that you're off duty. So it's similar thing applies to as a pilot as well.
Yeah. I would say
I see.
so. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I would say that certain companies have stricter rules than others. Yeah. So after that, it depends on your personal company's policy when it comes to stuff like this. But generally, I would say I would just take them off. Yeah.
I see. Okay. I wanted to also, I mean, there was three things that I wanted to talk about today. It's mainly about the recent cases that's happening in terms of aviation. The recent cases, I think, in India. I think what I wanted to ask you about your opinions about what actually really happened and what could actually happen, your professional opinion. And I wanted to ask about what are the things that actually pilot hate about from the passengers, and hope that passengers would actually know before boarding the flight and stuff like that. So I think, and also about your career journey. These are some things that I wanted to ask you. So maybe we can actually start off with your career journey. Why did you actually, and also in the end, I wanted some spill the tea kind of part where hopefully you can tell me some unknown secrets in the aviation team, in whether in your courses, whether whether or not there's such a story, So yeah, so I think we can begin with in terms of your career. Female pilots, do you think there is any showstopper that, because I think nowadays, back then we don't really see a lot of female pilots, and why is it now in this generation, I think in this recent this decade, that we see more and more female pilots? What are the things that actually encourage you, and do you all face any showstopper, and why did you want it to be a pilot itself, and what are the journeys, and how do you start it off there?
Okay, so I guess to answer your first question, there are more female pilots these days because of two things. Number one, awareness. More and more people, more and more women are like aware that this is a career path that they can pursue. And then after that, the other one is only recently did airlines started taking female pilots here.
In Malaysia.
In Malaysia, I would say. I mean, like in other parts of the world, they've been taking female pilots for a very long time. But I think in Malaysia, AirAsia was the first one to take female pilots. Then after that, followed by Malaysia Airlines.
I see.
Yeah, and Malaysia was very recent as well. It wasn't very too long ago. I think maybe about 6-7 years back. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So to say, females are not restricted to be a pilot mainly because of females' limitation. It's mainly because of companies' regulation that not allow females to be a pilot.
Yeah, I would say that. In Malaysia, I would say.
Malaysia
Yeah, they didn't want to hire female pilots at first because of I guess in issues like maternity leave and
Mm-hmm.
all that. They weren't sure on how to manage that, I guess. But after that, they worked it out, I'm sure. Then after that, they started hiring female pilots. Yeah.
So it's not about the female limitations.
No, there's actually well, actually when it comes to
Yeah.
this, actually there is no difference between flying in terms of man or male or female,
Yeah.
because everything is like you don't need. Do you need to be male or female to drive a car?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. A plane is like a car. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle. Anyone can fly it. Yeah.
And spectacles.
Yeah.
There was this stereotype back then when I was very young, because I think my brother actually wanted to be a pilot himself,
really?
and I think there were stories back then where if you start wearing specs and if your power's above a certain level, you cannot be a pilot. Is it still applicable now?
Yes, I would say that the spectacle wearing condition has loosened. Last time they didn't used to be. Your requirement was not to wear any spectacles at all.
Okay.
But after that, now the requirement is that as long as your vision is correctable to 6/6,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, that's fine. And after that, of course, your visual acuity, your power,
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be higher than a certain limit.
Mm.
This limit varies, I would say, depending on the tolerance of the company or the company's requirements. But yeah, you're allowed to wear glasses as long as it's correctable to a visual acuity of 6/6 or better.
6/6.
Yeah, means like perfect vision, like normal perfect 20/20 vision. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so just to emphasize again, female, we can be a pilot now.
Of course.
So it's mainly about companies' restriction and companies' R&R rules and regulation. And spectacles, it still applies where you still have to meet the minimum requirement depending on the company itself. So, okay. And now, let's just say someone really dreams to be a pilot, putting aside about all the sponsorships that is actually being available from like our Malaysia's airline company, AirAsia, Malaysia Airlines, Batik Air. I think these are the three main airline companies in Malaysia. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they do provide sponsorships, right?
No.
No.
No, they do not do sponsorships anymore, as far as I know. It's all they do cadetships, but after that, as far as I know, you have to pay for them yourself. You have to take the money and you do the loan
Okay.
and all that by yourself. So yeah.
So someone who are not financially available to sponsor themselves at the beginning of the journey, how is there any way that they can actually walk the path? If
Yes, but I would say it's very expensive nowadays.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you can do is borrow money, but after that, there are some banks that will lend you money for this course, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of banks that would do it. But it's more of a safer bet if you go for the cadetship. You get the cadetship, and then after that, the company that you're doing the cadetship with, they will give you certain banks to contact, and then after that, you will just engage with them for the loan. So basically, you're paying your own way through this, but you're borrowing money and then paying it back later on. That's how it works. Yeah. So it's the same way for AirAsia, same way for Malaysia Airlines, same way for Batik, I think. But I don't think Batik has a cadetship program. Only Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia.
So when you said cadetship program, it's where you are tied to them for a certain period of years. Yeah. I see. So the only way if someone were to really want to actually take up the piloting journey is to apply for a cadetship,
yeah. That or you can fund yourself and go to flying school as a private cadet. Means that you're not tied with any company. It's just like going to university. You want to go to that university, you apply and then you get in.
I see.
Yeah, and then you of course to be a pilot you have to pass certain medical fitness checks.
Okay.
To be able to be eligible for the license. But other than that, it's more like any other school,
So to summarize, there is two options that we can actually opt for if you were to. So the first one is to, like for example, if I want to go to a certain university, which is I want to join a certain aviation company, I apply to their cadetship.
Yeah.
And then if not, if I have the money, I can just straight away apply to work for them, to study with them.
To study at the school, yeah.
To study, at which school?
There's a few schools in Malaysia right now. My alma mater, HM Langkawi, HM Aerospace, that's in Langkawi. IATAC in Malacca. MFA, Malacca Flying School. Oh, sorry, Malaysian Flying Academy, not Malaysian Flying Academy in Malacca. And then after that, there's a AATA, There's a lot actually. Bats. Yeah, there's a lot in Malaysia now. Yeah.
I see.
Layang in East Malaysia, I think. Yeah.
Also, it's either you straight away go to the cadet or you just go to any aviation school, and once you're done with it, you apply to enter any aviation company like
Yes,
Malaysia
an
Airlines,
airline.
Air
Yeah,
Asia's,
yeah.
and
That's how it
everything.
works. Yeah, yeah.
And would there be any bad aviation schools which actually will not, which whereby your certificate is not acceptable? Is that such a
In
thing?
Malaysia,
Uh-huh.
if you graduate from a flying school in Malaysia, it should be all legal. Should be all compliant and legal because we have a civil aviation authority,
Mhm.
CAM, that does all of this, that handles all of this. So after that, the school cannot be certified as a ATO or like like an aviation training organization. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry if I'm getting any of these words wrong because like it's my first time touching on these things, but like yeah,
Okay.
so an ATO, so sorry, an approved training organization. So they have to be approved and they have to go through all of this. So once you graduate from them, you will have a license. But after that, when you say bad flying schools, it's possible if you go to schools overseas that are not recognized. Then after that, that will be considered your license is bad, as in unrecognized. But not say bad, but unrecognized. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that was because like sometimes when you go overseas to certain universities, and then at the end of the day, the cert that you get is not recognized back in Malaysia. So I think that's the thing that a lot of
it's the
people are
same.
concerned
Yeah,
about, like
it's the same
law
thing.
degrees and psychological degrees.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
It's the same, yeah.
So to say Malaysia's aviation schools are all safe to go.
I would say yes. The established ones, yeah. It's they will give you a license. You are certified. You will be certified. You once you graduate, you will have we call it a CPLIR with a frozen ATPL. So a commercial pilot's license with an instrument rating, and with a frozen airline transport pilot's license. Yeah.
That's a lot of jargon over here, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. The frozen ATPL means that you haven't hit your 1,500 hours, so it's frozen. It's on ice. Once you hit your 1,005, you get to unfreeze it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How long does it take for the bare minimum of a flying school? How long is the journey? Like 3 years, 2 years?
18 months.
18 months.
Yeah.
And you can enter at the age of 18, or what is
Yes.
your 18?
You can enter even younger than that actually.
Is it?
Yes. But because the minimum age you get at PPL is 16, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
I see.
Yeah, a private pilot license means that to be able to fly yourself and not carry any paying passengers. That would be 16. So yes, you can enter as young as 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've had people who don't know how to drive cars, but they can fly a plane.
I see.
Yeah.
Malaysians.
Yeah, my juniors back in flying school. Yeah, but that was very rare. Like me one or
Uh-huh.
two at the most.
I see.
Yeah.
So the minimum requirement of you have to sit your SPM, you need to have all those things. It's still the bare minimum Malaysia education requirement.
I think yeah, you will have to have SPM or your IGCSE. I think some schools accept IGCSE as
Because
well.
like the way you were saying, you gave me the impression like, so are you trying to say that we can skip our SPM and just go straight to aviation school? Like that's so cool.
No, you can't skip your SPM because if I'm not mistaken, the admission requirements they do require you to show your SPM certificate.
I see. Okay, so it's like 18 months.
Yeah, 18 months at the very quickest without any delays or the weather. But you can practically finish the course in 18 months. Yeah. My course was supposed to finish in 18 months, but after that, because of COVID and everything, it got extended to 3 years. That's why. Yeah.
I see. Is there, from what I know, there is no a certain age group people in your piloting school. You see many different age groups.
Yeah.
Why is that so?
Because piloting is a dream. Some people achieve it early, some people achieve it late. Not say late, but later in life. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Like of course there's an age limit. You can't be too old. But after that, I would say that there's like a variety of people because we all have different timelines in our lives.
Yeah.
Some people achieve it early, some people late, but they're all there for one reason, to learn how to fly.
So let's just say when I reach 35, I decided to be a pilot.
Yeah.
I can still go, right?
Yeah.
Even if I'm 45, I can still apply for it.
Yeah, but after that, finding a job as an airline pilot would be a bit tougher later on once you graduate because you're a bit old for that when you're 45. But definitely, if you want to learn how to fly just for the sake of learning how to fly, go ahead. You can learn to fly as long as you're medically fit. Like even 60, 70, you can fly also. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a very intense session. A lot of information that I have to absorb. Yeah.
I haven't talked about my career like this in depth in a very long time. So I'm sorry if I get anything wrong. Yeah.
Okay, cool, wonderful, wonderful. I think next up I think I just let me sum up a little bit because of all the misconceptions that people have is that female we can be a pilot. It's mainly about the company's restriction, and you still need to have a minimum requirement of your eye power, so that
Your height,
your
and after
your
that,
so your height still matters. Your
your
height
height still
and your
matters,
eye.
your eye power, your health generally.
Your
You have
health
to
generally.
pass the class 1 medical
Okay.
fitness test.
And then mainly for you to apply to a piloting course, you can either go to a cadet, which is join the respective like Malaysia Airlines cadet courses, AirAsia cadet courses.
That's right.
And other than that, if you have the money, you can actually go for an external private aviation school, which, so to say, mainly all the aviation school in Malaysia, we're all safe and all certified and all recognized. It's mainly about their reputations and individuals' preference.
Yes, that's correct.
Individual preference.
Yeah.
And in terms of how you want to determine this pilot belongs to which company and etc., you can either see it through their epaulets, and or their pin or their tie itself.
Yes, that's
I
correct.
see. Okay,
Or you
and
could just ask them, like, who do you work for? You know?
Yeah,
I think that's
that's true,
easier rather
yeah.
than just buying. Be like, hey, what airline do you work for? Why doesn't it just be like, hey, what company do you work for? I don't think any pilot would be like embarrassed to tell you, like,
Yeah.
I work for this company. Nah, I prefer to tell you I work for this and this so and so company. So
Okay.
it's a lot easier than just like.
Yeah, that's true. It's a proud feel anyway. Yeah. What is there to be shy about?
Yeah.
And then the courses is about 18 months.
Yeah, about there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fastest you can probably take estimate is like 18 months, a year and 6 months.
So mainly for all the stripes, the epaulets, those who have stars means they are either like a trainee or they are like a combat flight.
If they have more stars,
Uh-huh.
usually that's the area of the military.
Ah,
Yeah, but for just civil aviation, usually it's just stripes.
I see.
Some companies have a star one.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for that.
No problem. Happy to
Right.
share.
Yeah.